Hello. So one of the things I wanted to talk about, and this is only going to be a short video, is about how I handle long campaigns. And the way I do that is basically I don't design a story, I don't design a meta plot, but what I do design is a setting. I like to design huge sandbox settings, which the players can get involved with. The biggest one I ever created, or I helped create because there was several of us involved, was a huge Star Wars sector called the Settling Sector, which then it got so big with all the characters and planets, it had to become an entire region of space. So it ended up becoming called the Cetapar Cluster, and the Settling Sector was in that. And that went on for we started in 1987 when the game came out, and then we ended around about 10 years later, sort of 2007, 2008. I mean, we played it like twice weekly. We really went into it for the first few years, leading up to about 94, 95, and then it took a little bit more of a back seat, especially for me, because I was focusing a bit more on other games like Warhammer Fantasy Role Playing, Cthulhu, and what have you. And so yeah, to be honest with you, that was a little bit easier because me and my best mate in the entire world, Mark Newbold, in the 80s had done loads of stories and recordings for a Star Wars setting that we'd created called the Settling Sector, like I just said. And yeah, we had loads and loads of material for that, and that transposed over quite well into the Star Wars games. And it was quite good because we'd bring in other players and other people were playing the Settling Sector. It was like a little playground that we built, and they knew certain worlds they could go to for certain things, and shops and NPCs that they could speak to for help. And it built up this really sort of lived in, real breathing world that they could interact with. They didn't have to wait for a quest giver to give them a quest to go on to, like in a published adventure, which were good. Don't get me wrong, a lot of them were very good. Um, so yeah, that's what I tend, because of that kind of large sort of built-in world. That's the kind of, or built-up world setting. That's how I handle large campaigns. So what I do is, if I'm going to do a straightforward adventure, what I tend to do, if I get a new game, I'll just do a few straightforward adventures to get used to the game, so that the players will get used to the game, so that we know what we're in for and what the game consists of and what we can get out of it. That way, then we can make sort of an informed opinion on if we do want to play this as a long campaign, or if we just want to do it as a bunch of short one shots because it's a little bit of fun. So first of all, yeah, that's how I'll play the game. So yes, I will introduce adventure paths. I will set up little quests so they can go off and sort of do certain things. And then if they interact, or if I create settings, or if I create places or NPCs that they respond to positively and that they want to know more about, then I know then it's worth building up on the larger setting. I did it with Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. I built up this small village area called La Mortineau. It was like a little section in the Empire which had been given to a Bretonnian noble for services rendered to the Empire. And from that little place, the people would go off on adventures. Even with new players, they'd come along, and that's where they'd be introduced to. And the more money they made, or the more success they had, they'd put money back into La Mortineau, and it started off as a village, and it got larger and larger and larger. So the more success they had, and the more notoriety that they had, the more people would actually come to this small place. And to me, that's excellent. That gives the campaign, it gives it depth, and if it grows, not just as far as the player's capabilities are concerned, but if it grows as a setting and as an area, then yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. I don't want to get to a point where it's like, oh, I'm bored of this now. Let's go off and play something else. I want the players to be invested in the setting. I want them to be invested in the characters and in the setting. Now, I've got no control over how they play their characters or how they feel about their characters. So all I can focus on is the NPCs, the settings, the adventures, and that sort of stuff, and what's happening in the world that I'm trying to portray. So, too long didn't listen. The way I approach large campaigns is to create a sandbox setting, and that's what I focus on. I also listen to quite a lot about what the players want from the game. They might say certain things, or they might have created a character backstory. Character backstory is a completely different video. I do like character backstories, but I prefer the characters to grow organically in the game and not rely on 12 pages of A4 talking about who they are. Because it's like when you watch a dramatic character in a movie. Yes, you can sit there and say, "Oh yeah, I'm really sad, but this is why." But you're just telling me that it feels like an anecdote, and if I'm not experiencing that with you, then I can't. I can relate. I'm sure I can empathise, but I don't really feel it. So when stuff happens in the game, in an adventure, and it affects the characters so dynamically that they want to make a change or go after a certain NPC or do this and do that, that's brilliant. But when they're talking about going after somebody because they wrote about it in their character backstory, brilliant for adventure hooks, but it shouldn't be the focus of the story because it's not about, unless you're playing one on one, it's not about one player. It's about the group, and that's what I want to be focusing. I want to focus on how the group handles things. I want to focus on how the group reacts to situations and events going on around them. I want to react to how the group feels about the NPC that they've just met. Because it's the group that counts at the end of the day. I'm not even sure if I'm making any sense, actually. I feel like I've gone off on about 5 or 6 different tangents. It's because I was trying to hit a 5-minute mark and I've completely miserably failed. It's now 5 minutes 30, but oh well. So yeah, that's how I approach creating big campaigns. I just let them grow organically, and also as well, very quickly before I end this, I also make sure that what the players do means something. So every time they make a decision or they do something, whether it's a success or a failure, it has an impact on the greater world. So they go off on this quest, they've got to get this little artifact, but they failed. Now that artifact's fallen into the hands of somebody else who shouldn't have it, that's created a problem, and now they've got to deal with that. So yeah, their decisions that they make, like I say, whether they fail or succeed, that will also help shape the setting as well, because then that gives the players a sense of agency. I suppose it gives their characters meaning. You don't want to be a bystander in somebody else's story. You want to be able to get involved. I mean, they've not come along to gaming sessions to listen to me telling them a story or basically read aloud fan fiction for a certain setting. They're there to interact and play the game, and that's really what I strive for. If I get it right every single time, probably not. Probably I do disappear up my own arse and end up getting more involved in what I'm talking about than what the players are doing, because unfortunately that's just my brain being stupid. But yeah, what I strive for is to make the game settings fun and entertaining for the players and make their characters mean something. So that's pretty much that. So thanks for listening. Ta-ra.